Greetings, as I, Dracovin, your Lord Emperor here at the Dracovin Empire, and welcome once more. I hope all of you are ready to dive back in the Pathfinder role-playing game system, its world, Golarion. I got another exciting episode today talking about a country, Iobaria. We're going to be diving into it. And of course, if you're joining me live over on Twitch, hey Twitch, you can say hi over there, or joining me later on YouTube. Please, you folks over on YouTube, a piece of this algorithm. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, and ask my question for the day. Leave in the comments, hey, have any of you had an adventure in Iobaria? Because Iobaria is a region as much as it has been two nations. Now it's just more a region that exists in the nation that we know about. So it's got a very deep history that we're going to get into today about a lot of terrible things that have happened here and the settlement and nations that have risen and fallen there. It's going to be an interesting one. So I hope you're all ready for it. How about we dive into our normal point and talk books? Because if you want to do some further research, I do have a couple of books that I recommend for the ones I use as my primary sources along with the wiki sites online. The Pathfinder Chronicles campaign settings. Of course, the Lost Kingdom books. Hey, it's Nations Have Fallen there. It's a Lost Kingdom. And the Inner Sea World Guide are varied places, along with the Darkhold Vanishing from the Kingmaker book, deals a little bit with what happened and Iobaria. So, yeah. Now here's a map from actually Kingmaker video, or the adventure path. One of them, where you can see where Iobaria is on, and it's technically in Kazmaron, even though it's kind of on the border between Avastian and Kazmaron. It's right next to the River Kingdoms. So, what can I tell you about Iobaria? Well, it's east of Breviary, north of the Castrovian Sea, and, as I said, it's part of Kazmaron. Human settlers have been in the land and united into an old empire in the past, but because of a lot of things, especially a series of plagues that depopulated the region, it is now basically mostly wilderness, with small settlements or city-states that exist within it. None of which we have enough information to get their own episodes we'll talk about. But knowing this, and the fact that it's a bunch of cities and settlements and such that remain here, what's the history of this? What happened here to change the fact that there isn't a nation anymore? Well, we have to go back first to the Age of Legends, because no one is sure who lived in the early aeons of that time. But someone carved the steps into near a mountain in the Ice-Creamy Peaks, and the first recorded inhabitants of the area were the Cyclops of the Kingdom of Golarion, who left ruins in Iobaria, and are mentioned in the ancient texts of Inhabitants, itself one of the oldest human civilizations in Kazmaron. The Golarion Cyclops were refugees from the even older realm of Golgon on Grund, and left that kingdom looking for a new life free of the brutality and bloodlust that would cause its demise. Though few hard facts are known about the Golarion, it is thought that it ended in the planet-wide apocalypse of Earthfall in negative 5293 AR. So as Golgon was falling, the Golarion Cyclopses basically founded a new kingdom. Some of them did say an Iborian, or Iblidos, I should say. But some who came to Iborian to form their own there. The Iblidosians managed to survive. We'll talk about them in another episode. Golarians did not. So now we go way forward into the future. I mean, we go way forward. About 6,000 years to, because we were at negative 5293 AR. We're now at 700s AR. So we've gone like 6,000 years in the future, and elfin explorers from Avastian migrate east along the southern edge of the crown of the world. They travel east from the Lake of Mist and Vales until they've reached the Castrovian Sea. There they spread out and attempt to subdue the new hostile environment. Orkmir was one of the first elfin settlements east of the lake. It was founded in 752 AR. Orkmir then spawned the city of Orlov, which I'll talk about both of them today, which eclipsed its predecessor in 764. In 905 AR, the local ruler Iobaria the Potent of Orlov succeeded in uniting the Ulfin of Iobaria into a single realm. The Iobarian Empire, at its height, stretched from the ice wall, ice steppes, and the Lake of Mist and Vales in the north to the Myrfrus River to the east, Mendev past the ice ring peaks and hills of Nomen to the west, and the Castravian Sea to the south. Iobaria also extended itself into Ivastian, forming the colonies of Issa, which is now part of Breslery, and Mendev. So there's this connection to the great Iobarian Empire, or kingdom, that existed here. But then the first fall happened. In 1106, the first recorded Great Plague happened, the Tear Plague. Most of the plagues seem to have arisen from the forests, Iobarians having blamed Cyclops ruins like Orsknir, and in 2767 they blamed the farmers. One plague which they tracked down the source of to Chardeth in 1634, which in 1869 they tracked to the necromancer Otia of the Dying. Even today, a host of illnesses keep the population low. The worst plague was the choking death in 2742. So we're talking about a number of different plagues. We've got the Tear Plague, the Char Death, and now we've got the worst one, the choking death. It killed nearly 3/4 of the population and led to a vicious pogrom, remembered as the native plague strike. And entire cities were abandoned as a result of these tragedies. Thus weakened, the kingdom of Iobaria lost control of its vassal states, which rebelled against its control, only to collapse themselves once they were cut off from the central support. Even after the choking death subsided, it never really disappeared completely from Iobaria, and continues keeping the population growth in check for centuries. 2,000 years, about after the plague started, in 3212, about 500 years after the choking death, 3 warlords reunified much of Iobaria into New Iobaria. Which, I mean, we can talk about a little bit here, but it's basically what's going on here. We're kind of going on about here. It's just the new nation that's here. So they fell into interceding strife before the unification was complete. King Arari I won the Restoration War in 3304, although peace was not declared in 3309, with the help of Draconian allies. In repayment, Ural succeeded control of all Cyclopsian ruins not currently in use to dragons. Human-occupied cities remained human, and the humans retained a presence in strategically important sites like Fralos. Atodal was the capital of New Iobaria's height, which lasted from about 3312 to 3679. Then more strife occurred, but one clan emerged the winner in 3870, pushing its rivalries into Brevery. This form of New Iobaria survived, somewhat stagnantly, until the Drake Plague of 4519, which decline struck in earnest. So yet another plague in this region happened. In 4606, Eridan fell to and the world would open in the Kelid realm of Sartoris. In the next 2 decades, many Mendevians fled east, followed by the Sarconians. New Iobaria could not absorb the Sarconians, and the kingdom collapsed again, starting at Marvadia. So basically, the world wound drove a bunch of refugees into their land, and the kingdom collapsed about 100 years ago. Fine. So currently, there is no kingdom in Iobaria. Alright, let's take a look at the map of Iobaria here, because we do have this one here, the region. And we can talk about the locations and cities in place. Let's do that. So let's talk about the various places. Anatol is the former capital from 3304 to the fall of New Iobaria in 4659. It still exists, even though it's no longer part of a kingdom. It's its own city. Its de facto tyrant is Carfar Rouge of Vec, but his armies and spies have kept the public basically sufficiently inundated to keep control. And there's pearls and fishing trade and great magical libraries, religious, herbal, and medicine lore that even are earlier than the Pathfinder society that are here. So it does have some importance. Everin is a center for trade between Iobarians, humans, and non-human populations. Looking at the edge of the Sirzunian Highlands, still recovering over the course of the last two plagues, of course. But those attract people that are tired of living solitary lives in the wilderness. There's just a lot of people just living out there that you can find. It's ruled by the Council of the Free. Franax is a port town on the Lake of Mist and Vales. It was once the center of Iobarian's shipbuilding and repairs thanks to its geography. Located in a series of bays protected by 3 islands, it eventually covered those islands. Much of the town is in ruins now, after it was consumed in a fire in 4651, about 70 years ago. It was started by an ill-advised attempt to contain the plague of boils and bone aches that afflicted it. Again, yet another plague. And it led to an exodus of the shipbuilding industry to Orlov. The few that remained in the city were caught in a conflict between the druids and the local fishermen. Proran is a ghost town. It's a former settlement, though a new town has taken its place, which we'll talk about. Basically, it was a lumbering town, but its ruins still exist. Katrivish is in the Norinor forest, and inhabited by seemingly mad druids who worship the Cyclops god Kratos, and hunt those that trespass into their woodland. Kira is the temple city, located in the peaks of the Sirzunian Highlands in Iobaria, is only accessible by flight or via the Cyclopsian Golarion road that runs from Grelenthrost and the Crinlith Plateau. An ancient Cyclops temple city surrounded by a clear mountain lake called Osterkra. The modern city is founded by Ultimate explorer Greneth in 846, named after his late life. It became the largest city in Iobarian, with new building materials brought from the forest until logging awoke something, leading to depopulation of the city. Since then, various powers have taken control of it, including a group of Cyclopses and Hill Giants, who built the Temple of Blood and Bone out of human bodies. They were cleared out by one of Iobaria's many plagues, succeeded by Hobgoblins, and ruled until the rise of new Iobaria, where humans reclaimed it. Under the leadership of Grand Druid Fedor Vaskil, the temple cities were maintaining its independence from conflicts between the other main cities, Orlov, Kiradorn, and Miran Bay. Its inhabitants embraced 36 local nature gods who were seen as Erastil's children. And dragons who were once allies of Iobaria's noble houses are known to inhabit the ruins beneath. Now to talk about the first of the major settlements as mentioned there is Credorn, the second largest city in Iobaria, passed only by its regional rival of Miran Bay. It's on the sloping cliffs of the Castrovian Sea. Its towers and lighthouse make it easily visible landmark for sailors. Founded in 905 AR, it was able to survive near Iboria's collapse in 4659 and became a destination of many Galtan nobles fleeing their nation's collapse and revolution. It's considered one of Iobaria's safest cities despite unreliable service and rampant corruptions, and its leaders thirst for conquest. Its leader also, basically the 3 big cities want to basically be the successor to new Iobaria and make a new kingdom there. Karasharik is a secluded settlement on the shore of Lake Mist. Simple place on the outside. Krindorthrost dates back to the Cyclopsian nation of Coralan. Humans settled in an area, it's a giant bridge, and humans settled under the bridge, building their wooden houses into stone arches and the riverbank, away from the ruins on the west bank. It's controlled by the noble houses of Kreegorn at this point in time. Lenosha is a settlement within the Finadar Forest, founded in 795. It was abandoned a century ago when Plague claimed half the children, and now it's a refugee for bandits. So it is an abandoned city of bandits. Mirren Bay, founded in 1528, is a port city, protected by palisades and located in a peaceful location on the Cascavian Sea and the mouth of the Mirfist River. It's the largest, most peaceful city in Iobaria, along with several nearby humanoid settlements. It was sacked in 1900 AR by Unified Centaur tribe of Kemrion, under the banner of their leader. It was refounded in 2108 AR with better defenses, and Centaurs were banned for the city for the next 400 years. With New Iobaria's collapse, it became one of the last remaining power centers in the region. It's got 22 noble houses that ruled it through a labyrinthine political system based on alliances and strategies. It's faced some disruption from Galtian nobles that have fled there, but as of 4710, Galtians control only a third of the city's trade guilds as well as 5 of the 22 noble houses. This led to an alliance of House Rukov, a breakaway faction of Iobarian royal house Arjab that controls the wizards in the city's arcane college. Mishkar is unusual for a human community in Iobarian, is because it's not built on the scavenged remains of Cyclopsian ruins. From 809, it was abandoned by Iobarian in 4607 to be re-established by Varisian and Paladin settlers in 4659 along with the collapse. In 4719, it was damaged when a massive forest fire happened in nearby Findar Forest, but it was recovered by 4720. So, if you wanted to visit Mishkar, small little city. A small, self-sufficient city-state with an agricultural and trade base. And they value their independence from a lot of the other factions in the nearby area. Mirren Rosk, youngest of towns, was founded in 4661 by dwarf and halfling settlers on the edge of the Korath Woods. It's an open secret that Kodalik and Kodok beings are held in high regard there, and its people revere Arasto alongside other lesser deities with a touch of animal. So even lycanthropes are accepted as long as they can control their changes, while those who openly hunt lycanthropes will find few friends and allies there. Okamir is a largely abandoned settlement in the northwest corner. It was founded in 752 by 20 survivors of an expedition. It's seen better days, and it's got a druid monarchy over the top of it. Orlendis has been destroyed and rebuilt a dozen times throughout its history, and still exists to this day. So, you know, it's important to Orlov and Franks as a source of timber. Orlov is the former coastal capital and oldest city in Iobaria. Basically a ruin of a former glory on the link of mists and veils, founded in 753 by those that discovered it. Basically, it contains many structures built by Cyclopses. It's had a lot of ups and downs. Its population is now less than half of its former numbers, and a lot of the city has crumbled to ruins, with stone mesas walling off complexes deemed too ruined to inhabit it. Its scheming prince dreams of re-establishing the empire, but he doesn't have the troops to man the ancient fortifications, let alone conquer things. Though there are some alliances he's managed with, basically adventure seekers, investors in other places like Cheliax, the river. Horst is a trade town with increased importance, basically with trading wood and stone. Sorla Clan is a catfolk settlement in the Fangren Forest. Vecca is located at the shores of Nearvid and stood as a garrison of the fort since its founding, basically against things that can come from the ice steppes. Vladimir is an isolated town on the shores of the Castrian Sea. It's the southernmost settlement in the Iobarian region. Volod is a small town built in 4,400 AR to replace the former logging town that I mentioned earlier, focusing on logging and woodcraft. As of 4710, strange events have been occurring there, and, the druids, basically, of the town have spoken to new deities in the highlands that demand worship. And Vernon is a centaur settlement in the northeast there, region of Iobaria, and a meeting place of various centaur tribes that was founded in 1466. Now, we finish up today by this location here, which is a nice adventure path location of an interesting one, as it is referred to as Artosa, which is an interesting ruins of pretty naked women representing the life cycles of a female, made by Baba Yaga of all people. Anyway, we're not going to get into that. Those are ruins and monuments in Iobaria. We don't get into that kind of stuff too much. But today, Iobaria is very sparsely populated, with humans living outside the old cities and tiny settlements. About 80 out of every 10 inhabitants live in the endless forest wilderness in a state of semi-harbors, and avoid the ruined cities of their ancestors altogether. The numerous diseases which emptied it 2 millennia ago have never disappeared completely, and still serve to keep the population low. Iobaria is one of the few places where the cold-adapted mid-century catfolk can be found, well-adapted for life in the frozen reaches of the northern part of the country, and other non-human races live in nomads in small packs. A vast number of minor nature spirits, and most religious figures are druids here. Ulshui, the Green Man of Sequoias, and other massive ancient trees, is believed to live in Iobaria. So, there you go. There is Iobaria. Certainly, maybe another nation could form there, but the plagues and problems that have happened there basically keep the population low. And again, I mentioned so many different plagues, and they just haven't gone away. So, will this place ever recover, rebuild a kingdom again? I mean, new Iobaria formed out of it, and it still was being hit by plagues. It doesn't mean a nation couldn't form again. It's just that the tumultuous nature of this place means that it has these bastions of former civilization, these major city-states that no longer work together, spread out in between buildings. It's a region that is now quite wild. A skeleton of a nation that has existed and fallen multiple times. Certainly there are plenty of people here, plenty of adventure, but maybe not a lot of friends anymore. And people that just try to live their lives in amongst this shadow of a great empire. Will Iobaria rise again? Who's to say? Maybe one of the city-states will find a ground to unite them all, whether peacefully or militaristically, and with that power be able to rebuild a new Iobaria, whatever the heck they want to call it. But who knows? So much strife, so much problems has happened there that it just keeps collapsing. And it's just really hard for them to find this unity that many other nations do have. Maybe in that way they're very similar to places like the River Kingdoms West. But that'll be it for today. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to check out more of my stuff, you can always join me on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays live. If you want to check it out live, these all go up on YouTube later on. For stuff, Thursdays are the Pathfinder day. That's when I record these tabletop videos. Of course, you can always join me also on Wednesdays at 9 for Crimson Queen, my live play of Pathfinder First Edition, and Saturdays at 6 EST PM for discussing tabletop, my talk show / podcast. We talk about tabletop. And I've got social media with me. Can't think of anything else to say, so I'm going to say thank you all for joining me, and I hope that we can talk about more interesting nations and places in Golarion you could go visit or adventure at next time. Until then, I bid you all a deep and farewell.